The lake trout of Lake Superior are elusive creatures of the depths. The majority of the time, these fish seek out cold water and the gloomy depths, making them inaccessible to light tackle tactics. The exception to this rule is a brief period of time in the fall when lake trout invade the shallows to spawn. On this week's episode of Fishing 411 TV, executive producer Mark Romanack hooks up with Captain Travis White of Keewenaw Charter Fishing Company. The pair use Eagle Claw Boxing Club jigs and Z-Man PaddlerZ Swimbaits en route to creating one of the most unique lake trout episodes ever filmed.
There we go, first cast, and we are hooked up, and that's a small miracle. The other small miracles, look around, we're in Lake Superior today. It's November and we're in Lake Superior. How could you possibly have weather like this in Lake Superior in November? You just can't. Look at that beautiful lake trout. Oh my goodness, what a gorgeous fish.
Nice one, Mark.
If I can keep him up on the top here for you.
Oh, that's a good one. Look at that color. Yeah, we're fishing a time of year where these fish come shallow. It's a very short window, and we get them here for a week or two. And out of that time frame, if we get a day like this, that's a novelty.
I'm besides myself. That is so cool. I love catching trout, love catching them on lake tackle, love casting for them. And on top of all that, I love fishing with Travis White. This guy really knows the Keewenaw, and he's put us on so many good fish. And once again, my friend, you put me on an area.
That didn't take long.
It didn't take long. That's the show all over. Can we go home now?
Let's enjoy this beautiful day.
All right.
Man.
Whew. And that fish just ate it, just chewed it. There was no question in my mind that was a trout bite. Just dunk. I love that feeling.
Yeah, no need for a stinger with that one.
No need for a stinger.
Look at those colors.
This is it. It's going to be real easy for live release here. The water's cold, the water's shallow, the fish are shallow. Unhook them, let them swim, and we'll catch them another day.
Yeah, it's a cool time of year. You know, the one thing all these fish are here for is a spawning event that's taking place somewhere between the last couple weeks of October, first week or two of November. This year it's late. The water's been real warm, so this fish looks like it might have not yet spawned here. Okay. And that's a great point on the conservation side of this. We don't want to be keeping too many of these fish this time of year because everyone's a mature spawning fish.
You can see right there by the dorsal fin, there is a spaghetti style tag on that fish. And Jake's going to be so jealous. We don't catch very many tag fish.
No.
Let's be honest, that's a pretty rarity in the Great Lakes. So to catch a tag lake trout, he'd be very jealous of that.
So we're kind of staying close to the island here, and what we're doing is we go along close to shore. We're in casting range of the rocks. The boat's actually in about 30 feet of water here, so I like to cast at about a 45-degree angle up in front of us, and that way I can work that water all the way from the shallow shoreline all the way out to the boat. And I'm kind of just basically stepping that jig over that structure and letting it fall rather slow, you know, so we're getting deeper as it's getting closer, so I'm letting that jig fall. And I'm also keeping an eye on it when it gets close to the boat, because a lot of times we'll actually see fish follow. And if that's the case, you might be able to work that jig and kind of vertically right under the boat, get those fish to react to it.
Travis, this is amazing. I've always wanted to target lake trout shallow casting, particularly during the spawning season because of the colors of the fish, but there are very few places that I can do this.
Yeah,
well, a lot of the good water is tribal water and it's closed.
That is a challenge, is the season closures, which, you know, keep in mind it's the closures are for a reason with these fish being spawning fish, but obviously we're not harming these fish whatsoever.
No, we're not harming them, and what a ride. I mean,
nice
that is
fish,
just
Mark.
on light tackle, funk,
Beautiful.
Hit, swing on them and hook. Oh man, it's like fishing for smallmouth but catching lake trout. Very cool. Man, this is my kind of fishing. I really love casting. I really love swim baits. And I really love it when a fish just crushes it, and these fish are crushing it. Look at that. The water's so clear you can just literally just watch her swim. She's 30 feet away, 40 feet away. I can still see her 50 feet away. Gin clear water. That is so cool.
Special considerations are provided by Trailmaster Trailers and Daiwa Corporation. Special considerations are provided by ProCure, ruthlessly effective bait sense.
There we go.
All right, Travis.
Nice.
Well, look at that rod bend.
That's a hard pulling fish there. Boy, he's dodging and weaving here. Nice fish.
Very nice fish.
Not the biggest one, but we'll take them.
There you go. That's a very good representative fish.
Thank you, Mark. So we've seen a few of those really big fish, and you know, I think a lot of those really big and sagging ones are the females, and a lot of times those are followed up by these smaller males that tend to linger. You know, they're the first on the scene and the last to leave. So, you know, I think that would be a good representation of those smaller males, and that's really about the small end of what we see for these mature spawning class of fish. We'll let that guy go, but look at those colors. No problem going that one. Ooh, that cold water is definitely good for these fish.
He just pounded it. Travis and I were just talking about the average size fish here, and it looks like what we're catching is what we can expect, but maybe a shot at a bigger one.
Well, you might have a bigger one right there, Mark.
This one followed quite a ways because he was well off the bank when he bit, and I let the jig just tumble to the bottom.
I don't know why you brought this butterfly net to a gunfight here.
So you like that? You like that? I didn't think we were going to get standard rock quality fish here.
It's a special time of year. You know, we're getting a real good cross section of the nicest fish in this whole area of Lake Superior, because every fish that's in here right now is a sexually mature spawning size
just
fish.
Doesn't want to lift his head up there. I'll get his head back around for you, Travis. There you go.
Oh, that barely fit, Mark. That's a darn nice fish.
That is a darn nice fish indeed. Now we're talking. Whew. Look at the colors with the sunshine, the morning on that fish.
That fish inhaled that bait, didn't it?
He just crushed it, and you know, most of the bites so far have come right off the bank, but this one was down almost below the boat when he bit. So I was actually talking to you and let the jig just sink a little bit, and then tunk, there he was. Special. Man, I love these fish.
Beautiful fish.
I love them, I love them, I love them to pieces.
So what we're looking for is where we've got a lot of kind of jagged rocks sticking out into the lake a little bit from the main shoreline, and we can kind of see these fingers and rock points coming down into the water. And you can bet most of these have rock protruding out here up above the bottom where these fish can kind of lay up on. It's just, you know, that variation in the structure, and a lot of it's, you know, those steep slopes and then big broken chunks of rock along the bottom. And where you find all that, the right water temp, the right time of year, we're going to have these lake trout. That water temp is a pretty narrow range for getting this window of opportunity. These lake trout are known to spawn when the water is somewhere between 48 and 52 on the bottom. So typically that's going to correspond to your surface temp this time of year, given that we don't have a lot of stratification left in the lake. So right now we're at about 53 degrees, which is absolute prime for peak concentrations of these fish.
I feel like a bass fisherman going down the edge, casting in front of the boat. And yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's certainly a guy could troll for these fish, but that wouldn't be not even a fraction of the fun.
That would take a lot of the fun out of it.
Boy, that's another big fish, Mark. Look at that. Beautiful. You know, we're definitely catching the top tier lake trout.
Oh, you get him in that bucket, did you?
You got
Good
that
job,
little
Travis.
net today.
That's about all that can fit in there.
I think we surprised you with the caliber of fish we're seeing.
Look at that. That is a gorgeous lake trout. Anywhere you would catch it, any body of water. Man, thank you, thank you. Woo, baby. There she goes. Look at that. Man.
Right back into where she came from.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What a way to spend a November day, huh?
Well, we don't get many of these, so you know, you could be in a tree stand right now and you probably wouldn't be seeing much. I'd rather be right here.
I hear you.
60 degrees, no wind. How do you beat that?
One of the things that I think is an interesting aspect of trout and salmon fishing in general is scent. Some guys are really into it, they really believe in it. Other people don't think it makes any difference at all. I fall into the category, I think it makes a heck of a difference. Particularly when the water's cold, like we're dealing with today, that 50-degree threshold and colder, scent makes a big difference. And putting a scent stream, a natural scent stream in the water, I think helps fish have more confidence to eat. And not only to eat, but when they eat that presentation, to chew it right down. And you've noticed that some of the fish I've caught today are just choking, you know, they got the jig right down their throat. I think that's an indication that they're very convinced that what they're about to eat is the real deal. So when it comes to natural scent products, I think ProCure is pretty much the industry leader. They actually make their scent from real bait fish. And in this case, you know, a good choice would be smelt. Herring would be a really good choice here. So you want to match the hatch. You want to use a scent that smells like the fish that these lake trout are typically eating. And so for me, herring or smelt is going to be one of your best choices.
Special considerations are provided by Precision Trolling Data and the Lake St. Clair Walleye Association. Special considerations provided by the Ultimate Sport Show Tour, Michigan's elite sport shows. Eagle Claw presents the 411 on fishing.
When it comes to side imaging or active imaging from Lowrance, you have two different options for mounting them to your boat. Option number one is kind of your traditional way of side imaging, which is mounting it to the back of your boat. The second option is actually mounting it on your electric motor. Now in this case, I actually have a 3-in-1 transducer mounted to my Ghost electric motor, and it's the way that I prefer to use structure style imaging like active imaging from Lowrance. The reason for that is I feel like I get a much cleaner picture. Now let me elaborate on that a little bit. Because I fish in an aluminum boat, a lot of the times I'll find is that I can't get a clear picture on both the right side of the boat and the left side of the boat because the outboard motor is just simply in the way. An active image transducer or a structure scan transducer is long and skinny, and the one thing is it's really important to get that mounted in the right spot. You got to have a couple things in mind. When it comes to that style of sonar, this is a type of sonar that we use going relatively slow. So it doesn't matter if the transducer comes up out of the water when you're going at speed. So if you have a good spot to mount it on the back of the boat, that's a good option. Now because I'm fishing in an aluminum boat, I struggle finding the perfect spot to mount that transducer where the outboard motor isn't in the way. And so I like to mount mine on my Ghost electric motor. It's one extra step. I have to put the motor in the water to be able to use my side imaging. But the beautiful thing about adding the 3-in-1 nose cone transducer to the Ghost electric motor is you get a beautifully clear image. There's nothing in front of the boat to block your image. So you have two options when it comes to side imaging sonar with Lowrance. You can go with a active imaging sonar at the back of your boat, or you can go with an active imaging 3-in-1 sonar on your nose cone of the Ghost electric motor. Both are great options. It depends on your application and your boat.
That's a silverfish. That's a brown trout.
That isn't a lake trout, dude.
That looks like a brown to me.
That is not a lake trout.
That's a big fish.
Let's see if I can
You're a fish magnet, man. Wherever you go, you catch some
Oh, yeah, a
fish.
steelhead.
It's a steelhead, it is.
Wow.
There he is. What a bonus, beautiful bonus fish.
A Swimbait steelhead. That is a thick steelhead.
That is so cool. Congratulations, man. That is a neat bonus fish.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, wow. She was feisty. Look at that chrome. It's just, for Lake Superior, you know, this is about as big as we really get them. So, cool specimen. What a nice bonus. I bet she's going to take off like a rocket. Woo! Out of here. That was fun.
The jig we've been throwing today is a product made by Eagle Claw. It's called the boxing glove jig, and it is designed to specifically be a casting style jig, ideally for these swim bait bodies that we're fishing today. What I like about it is two things. One, it has a 60-degree eye tie, so it swims beautifully for a casting application. Secondly, it's got a trocar hook on it. If you know anything more about trocars, they are absolutely the sharpest hook you can imagine. You stick a fish with a trocar, it typically stays stuck. And now we've been seeing that today. It's a very, very effective jig. Now they designed these obviously for bass fishing, but they are working perfectly for what we're doing for lake trout. They would also apply to any kind of casting application where you're using a swim bait. You just can't beat the boxing glove jig by Eagle Claw and trocar. Straight down.
Made a believer out of me in these trocar hooks here. Big difference in my hooking ratio just in the last few fish that I've had hit. Switching to that jig Mark was talking about here, this boxing style jig with that trocar point. Seems to be helping me out. We'll see if we can get this one in the net.
Ooh, that is a nice quality fish, looks like.
That looks like it.
He's going to come straight up underneath me. He's going to give me an awkward netting job, but we got him there nonetheless.
Hey, well, you're drifting right on him here. That was an aggressive one. They've really been hitting it here, giving it a good thunk. And if you hit them at the right time, you'll get them hooked just like this one, right up in the nose. Straight down. So one thing that, is kind of unique here in Lake Superior is we don't have a season closure for lake trout at any point during the year. In other places, like down in Lake Michigan and Huron, you've got a closure at the end of September to allow these fish the opportunity to spawn without people targeting them. Every one of these fish is mature and fertile, so we're putting them back and we're taking good care of them, keeping them wet and getting them into that cold water. And it's something to think about because we'd hate to lose this opportunity to fish on Lake Superior during the spawn because it's such a cool, unique fishery.
Special considerations are provided by Cisco Fishing Systems and Striker brands. Go early, go late, go prepared. Additional considerations provided by Fishhawk Electronics. Trolling without a fishhawk is called boating.
Oh, just a little guy. He's a shaky one. You can tell the big ones just kind of lumber down there, and the small ones, they really put everything into it. Well, he's pulling hard for a little guy.
Oh yeah, there he is. He was hiding under the boat. I don't think he's as low as you think he is.
I think you're right. I think he's a pretty good size
trout than you thought he was.
He's a pretty good fish, pretty stout trout. That guy was hooked good. He wasn't coming off. He really had that jig inside his mouth. So I think a little bit different jig head and a little different profile, and that seemed to turn my luck around here. This last little bit's been dry for me. Pretty fish.
One of the things folks at home might find interesting is how we plan to shoot a television show. And I'm not from the Upper Peninsula. I don't live up here in the Keewenaw. I do not have boots on the ground in that I don't know what's happening from a day-to-day basis. But thankfully for us, Travis White does. And so we'll use a person like Travis who's fishing here daily, knows what's happening, more importantly knows the timing we need to be here, the right presentations, and he really makes it much easier for us to show up on location, go out and catch fish, and look like we know it all, so to speak. But a lot of the credit here has to go to Travis. Travis is the guy who has figured these fish out, knows the window, knows it's narrow, gets on the phone and says, Mark, get your butt up here. And when Travis says, get your butt up here, I drop everything because I know it's going to be a great fishing trip.
That was the first one I've had that actually did a good follow-up hit. Felt him and missed him. I slowed it down and this fish came right back out and nailed it. Boy, is that fun. Just another beautiful fall specimen. They've got just the most exceptional colors on them this time of year.
Oh, baby. And we have just had an unbelievable day today. Absolutely unbelievable day. If you're inclined to chase trout and you want to do it late in the season, Lake Superior is a great place to be. Man, oh man. Ooh, baby. Seems like a pretty solid fish, Travis. I'm
Looking good.
He's gaining as much line on me as I'm gaining on him here, which is always a good thing. Like the tuna guys say, I see color.
There we go, yeah,
I
beautiful.
see color. He's not a monster, but he is definitely a good representative fish. Get in there. Get in there. Look at that. Hey, my name is Mark Romanack, and you've been watching Fishing 401. I'd like to thank Travis White for showing us some of his pet lake trout. If you get a chance, check out Keewenaw Charter Company. I think you'll have a good time if you go fish with Travis.
Closed captioning is provided by Lakeside Motorsports, Michigan's premier marine and power sports company. Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, Lowrance Electronics, Starcraft Marine, Yamaha Outboards, Yakima Bait Company, Niagara Falls, USA, Smooth Moves, and Jay's Sporting Goods.
We're in Lake Superior today. It's November and we're in Lake Superior. How could you possibly have weather like this in Lake Superior in November? You just can't. Look at that beautiful lake trout.